Today I want to talk to each of you that hopefully you've maybe been here for several months with me, kind of grinding it out as I've tried to get better and better, or maybe you're new to this video blog, and I want to welcome you here. Over the past few weeks and months, we've had lots of new viewers come. I'm very grateful for people who've continued to repost or retweet these. And it would seem from even just recent events that the epidemic of infidelity and addiction continues to move forward. And there's lots of you that have just found this video blog and may have just recently even seen my wife Samantha. She will be back into film very soon. She was supposed to film today and had an issue come up that she was not able to come in, so she really wants to come in. So I'm hoping that we've created a wonderful desire inside of her to give back. So more on that soon. Today I want to talk to you about facing your fire, because I think many of us are going through things that can scare the hell out of us. I remember there came a point where I was faced with so much fear and so much uncertainty. And I've struggled with fear my whole life in many ways, growing up in the inner city and being afraid of being shot and being shot at. And I could talk about those stories for hours. And going through all the different seasons of life, and then infidelity, being afraid of getting caught, and then getting caught, and then being afraid of losing my marriage and almost losing it, and being afraid of losing my kids and all of that. I think fear is something that we all struggle with, and if you're going through infidelity, I'm sure, whatever side you're on, you're struggling with fear. And today I want to encourage you to do something, whether you're unfaithful or whether you're betrayed. I want to encourage you to find a piece of ground and stand on it. Because there comes a point where I believe you have to decide, I'm no longer going to be manipulated. I'm no longer going to be a punching bag. I'm no longer going to allow fear to rule my decisions. I'm going to find this piece of ground, and I'm going to stand upon it, and I'm going to be courageous. I read this funny quote this morning. I thought I would just say it. I know you've probably heard it maybe 1,000 times or maybe a couple of times. But, courage is being afraid and saddling up anyway. And so today, whenever you're receiving this, wherever you're at, I want to encourage you to saddle up anyway. Because whether you're a year down the road, 2 years down the road, or like a gentleman I just talked to who's 48 hours down the road, there comes a point where you have to decide that you are willing to be brave and courageous, even though you are scared as hell, but yet you decide to be courageous anyway. You see, real courage is not a feeling. I used to, at some level, kind of live that way, where if I felt courageous, I would be courageous, but if I felt afraid, I would hide. And I will tell you, there is a point in recovery work where you have to decide to be courageous, and you have to decide that you are not going to live by your feelings. You're going to have to live by a decision to be brave, a decision to be courageous, because most often you don't feel like being brave. You don't feel like being courageous, and oftentimes you don't even feel like you're being courageous, but in reality, you are. You see, for some of us that are maybe a few months or years down the road, there's a point where you decide that you cannot give up ground that you've already gained. You see, if you're any season into recovery, you've probably gained a little bit of ground. You may have gained a lot of ground on reminders, on triggers, on intrusive thoughts, on anger, on bitterness, resentment, hatred, struggles with what your spouse has done, or struggles with what you've done. And there's a point where you start to gain some ground and you feel like, yeah. And one of the biggest struggles of infidelity is feeling like you're going 3 steps forward and then 2 steps back, or 5 steps back. And it's a tug of war, man, and it's a tightrope. But I want to just encourage you today to not give up ground that you've already gained. I'm not trying to oversimplify things, and I'm not trying to make light of the fact that you're experiencing real trauma. But whether it's today or whether it's next week or next year, there's going to be a point where you have to decide, okay, you know what? I'm going to be courageous. I'm going to be brave. I'm still going to have to face all these different things, and I'm still going to have to go through all kinds of different things that I don't even see yet. That'll scare the hell out of you, that there's so much coming your way that you don't even know about yet. So if you decide to be brave now, and if you decide to be courageous now and saddle up anyway, it's going to help you get through some very dark days. Many of you are facing some incredible challenges, and it's very common that it's not just infidelity, but infidelity enough will put you on your face before God, or put you on your face, if you don't come from faith, it'll put you on your face just crying out for some form of relief. And sometimes it's infidelity plus a wayward child, or a financial disaster, or cancer, or so many other things that put us in a place of we feel helpless. But I want to encourage you today to not retreat. And you may need to, a phrase that I sometimes say is return, not retreat. And at some level, you may need to return to some of your recovery protocol. You may need to return to your faith. You may need to return to the coping mechanisms that you were using. You may need to return to an AA group. You may need to return to an accountability group. You may need to return to a relationship that helps keep you accountable. You may need to return to your spouse. But I want to encourage you to return, not retreat. Retreating looks different for all of us. For me, retreating is hiding. It's hiding from the stresses of life. It's hiding from the anxieties that we're facing now. It's hiding from the issues that may be coming up internally that I'm still maybe facing, not necessarily infidelity related, but just maturation related, right? Growing older and dealing with health issues and teenager issues, and how am I going to pay for college, or this or that. I mean, I am having to face some things now. You are having to face some things, and it's probably very deeply related to infidelity or addiction or divorce. And there's a point where you have to understand what retreating looks like. And it may be giving way to resentment and hatred. And it may be giving a place to unforgiveness. But I want to implore you today, don't retreat. For some of us, we know what's down that road. If you're an unfaithful spouse and you're struggling, you may be even struggling with retreating, which looks like relapse. And it may not even be a full-blown relapse. It may be what I call relaptic behavior, right? It's maybe not a full-blown relapse, but maybe it's flirtation. Maybe it's looking at soft porn. Maybe it's looking at porn in general. Maybe it's kind of cultivating a relationship with a member of the opposite sex that you know that you shouldn't be cultivating, but you are. And maybe it's not a full-blown relapse, but it's sure heading in the right direction for relapse. And I want to just bang on the desk of your life and say, don't retreat, because you know what's at the end of that road. You know where that road leads. You know where that road is going to take you. Even if you're a betrayed spouse and bitterness and resentment is in your ear, you know where that road takes you. Don't go down that road. Find a place, find some ground, stand on it, be courageous, and decide that you're not going down that road again. Oftentimes, when I hit a real difficult season, I feel like I have to make a decision to run to some things rather than retreating to some things. For me, I run to reading my Bible. I run to reading a few books that I read once a year that help me remember the recovery principles and protocol that so many people have taught me and that I've learned in life. I run to my 3 or 4 accountability partners that are people I've walked with for 10, 20, 25 years that will comfort me and kick my butt. I run to Rick if I need to. I certainly run to Samantha and connect with her. I run to connection with her in my accountability group. And there's a few things that you have to run to. I don't know what they are. Make sure they're the right things. Run to coping mechanisms that are tried and true. Run to your Hope for Healing group, or run to your Harboring Hope group. Run to your good therapist. Run to the right things. Do not retreat. Because if you retreat, you'll do what I did early on in recovery, is wake up and go, man, how did I get to where I'm at? So angry, so bitter, so depressed, so despairing, so angry because I had retreated, I had not been courageous. Finally, I know what it's like. I do. I understand it. But I want to just bang the tuning fork. I want to sound the alarm and say, don't retreat. Don't run to the things that you know you shouldn't run to. Find a place, find some ground, stand upon it, decide to be courageous, and take it one day at a time.